Hello and welcome to another Webinar Wednesday. This is Trevor, and today we're going to be talking about how to leverage appointment creation. And I'm going to show you two different ways. One is if you don't have an outside service and you only want to use Infusionsoft, and one is if you have another outside service such as Appointment Core to be able to help manage that. And I'll walk you through a few examples specifically with Appointment Core. So what we're going to do is go ahead and start with as if we didn't have any outside service. So I've created a campaign here, and let's open it up. And so this appointment could be for anything. It doesn't have to be exactly what I'm going to show you, but and obviously depending on what you're meeting about, your outcomes could change from what I've got in place. So that being said, we have individuals coming through two different ways. One is the existing list that I might have, that I have a tag that I could apply to the group. Once they get tagged, they would come in here and basically be invited to set the appointment. And so once the appointment, the link that they're actually using to set an appointment, since obviously we don't have any external calendar, would be a form, a requested contact form that they could provide maybe a couple dates and times that they might be available, or just provide their information and things like that. Depending on how you approach it, obviously our outcome's going to change. My example is stating that they would provide at least one, if not multiple, dates and times that might work for them. In that situation, once the client actually fills out the form, then they would be brought over to the notification section, where the notification is actually notifying someone internally that then at this point it's like a holding tank where the client is waiting for the appointment to be approved, or it won't work and they need to provide another time. So at this point, you have two tags, again, manually added by whoever's internal, saying, yes, the appointment time that they had provided works for me. Here's the date and time of the ones that they provided that will work. And then at that point, that can be inserted to their custom field that you would have a custom field set up for appointment date, and then one set up for appointment time. And briefly, let's take a look into that, because on the date and time custom field, I just want to point out one thing. So if I go back in, and on this tab, I'm just opening up my custom field so I can show you a couple of things. So you'll notice that I do have a date and time option for a custom field type. That is actually not what you want to use when you're setting up to receive input of what date and time they wish to meet. The reason for it is if you use a date/time custom field type, your reminders that should be based off of what appointment date that they've used will not trigger properly. You can't even reference the custom field that you set up for the appointment date if you use a date time widget. You would have to at this point use a date widget, of course, for the appointment date, and then likely a drop-down widget for or custom field for the actual times that they can choose from. So again, a date field will allow you to use the date timers in the sequence to say, the day of or 2 days before the appointment, send this reminder email. You cannot do that with the date/time custom field unless their most recent update has changed things, which I'm almost positive it has not. So at this point, again, just something to be aware of when you're looking at the campaign and you're going to either put the fields on the form for them to input their date and time available, or it's at this point before the appointment is quote unquote approved by whoever's internally doing so. You'll just need to make sure that the field type used is, again, a date and then a drop down for a time, not a date/time custom field. If you want them to be able to provide multiple, you would need, again, to have multiple field options available for here. So 3 custom fields for date, 3 custom fields for time if you want them to provide best option, second, third, in that fashion. So just it's a lot of fields to obviously have to take into consideration, but or you could do, for example, 3 date/time custom fields for the form, and then actually a separate date/time, or I'm sorry, a separate date field for the actual appointment date and a separate time for the actual appointment time that you can use. But at least if you did that rather than 6 fields, you're looking at you would have obviously 3 for their form request and then 2 more. So it can save maybe a little bit, but up to you there. Let me know if you have any questions about that. Hopefully that makes sense. But long story short, once they filled out their requested times, you're notified, you can approve it, and then you'll have confirmations and reminders go out to them. And for everyone to see, the field timer is the one reference where you can reference custom date fields for call date, for example. If it was a date/time field, that would not show. So presumably, once the appointment is scheduled, you get the confirmation and the reminder sent out to the client. Then you actually have a call with them. The internal form is what this is that I have. You can set up obviously with whatever's applicable that you want your reps to collect on the phone when speaking with a client. And it could be as simple as a radio button, which would be the case in this situation, where I could say if the first radio button option was selected and it was interested, they would funnel into this bucket. If the second radio option was not ready and they selected it, they would filter here. And if left message selected, they would filter here. To clarify for you, the reason I would recommend approaching it this way and not from like a tag standpoint or anything of that nature is obviously you can automate the actions based on what the outcome of the call was. So if I'm a rep and I've made a call attempt based off of what time they said they were available, and I don't reach them, I leave a message. I want maybe in 15 minutes I want an email to go out to them to say, hey Jim, just wanted to let you know I just tried calling you based off of the time mentioned that you're available. Didn't reach you. I left a message. I'll try you again tomorrow. And then I'll want a reminder to pop up for me tomorrow to reach back out and call Jim. So anyway, this is a way that you can do it, is just simply in the sequence. You have 15-minute delay timer, an email sent, wait a day, and then have a task to call. So again, pretty flexible as far as what you can set up here. But again, based on your situation, we can customize that accordingly. But let us know if you have questions. So back to our fork in the road here, we have, of course, their submitted times available. If we look at that and just say, you know what, I've got conflicting appointments or I'm unavailable, so that won't work for me. I need you to provide another time. So if I tag them in that fashion, what we would do is basically have an email trigger to them saying, after review, the times that presented will not be available, unfortunately. Please click here and fill out the form to provide us another couple times that might work for you. And or you can obviously, if you want to manually reach out, you could just, if you want tag to be able to keep for reporting or anything like that, you can just manually send them an email telling them, I've got this time, and this time that works for me. Will that work for you? And coordinate in that fashion. Otherwise, you can email them from the system, and then they'll just come back here. This little guy with the arrow pointing into it, what I've done is I clicked on the form and told it that any contact can be entered at this point, not just contacts that are specifically in this campaign here. So once whoever it is clicks the link, fills out the form again, they'll be started back at this point in the campaign. Then they'll go back through again, pended, will be approved, the appointment will be approved or declined, and the following will occur. So that is kind of a simple version of what might happen on an appointment creation if you do not have another service in place. But as you can see, this specific area of having to make them go through this is not as convenient for the customer. If I was a customer and it didn't work my first appointment time, and if for whatever reason I submitted again and it didn't work, I'm starting to lose interest or desire to continue to submit requests. I would figure at that point, why haven't you reached out or this or that? So just something to consider with that. You again don't have to allow the system to manually say it didn't work, click here to submit another time. You could reach out to them or have a task for someone to call them to schedule a time, whatever's going to be applicable for you. Now, in the situation that we want an outside service to go through and actually provide us that benefit of clicking a link and seeing the times available and then selecting them, we're going to walk through a little bit. But for those who actually might not be familiar at all with other services that do appointment scheduling, if we open up a new tab and just go to the Infusionsoft Marketplace, which is found at marketplace.infusionsoft.com, you can go ahead and we're just going to start typing for Appointment Core is the name of one of them. You can use whatever you like, but Appointment Core, if you click on it, this gives you a lot of good information as far as what Appointment Core is and what you can get from it, what you can do with it. As it mentions, you can connect it to your Google Calendar and things of that nature. To give you an example of how we use it is we have it set up so as soon as a new client comes on board, we email them saying, thank you, welcome, let's go ahead and schedule. Then they are given a link right there in their email to click to view my calendar, for example. And only the dates and times that I have made available are presented to them, as well as any appointment that anyone else has scheduled is not showing as far as what is available for them to select. I can set buffers between appointments to say, don't allow anyone to schedule 15 minutes after my appointment ends. Or, only allow people to schedule up to 3 weeks in the future. Or only, make sure that people cannot schedule the same day. They have to schedule at least the day after they're making the appointment. So whatever filter you want to put, you can do so. Once they schedule the appointment, however, they're notified, of course. It's added to my Google Calendar, which is what I prefer to use for managing my appointments. And then not only that, but it also integrates with services like GoToMeeting. And so GoToMeeting is automatically created for me based on them scheduling their appointment. And I can set the duration of the meeting. If my meeting is, of course, at a physical location, I can provide them meeting instructions or whatever the case is. So again, these are just a couple examples of what you can do through Appointment Core. But it actually makes no difference to Success Engine or Infusionsoft or myself what appointment service you use. I'm simply showing you Appointment Core because that's what I'm more familiar with. That's what I've used, and that's what I have the access to show you on the webinar. So again, if you want to use Appointment Core, great. If you don't, that's fine. But a lot of the functionality that I'm going to show you is what you'll find in many of them. So just something to note. So anyway, with that being said, if you go, let's go look at our campaign just to see some of the differences, and then we'll see how it actually interfaces. So in an example of using the Appointment Core, much smaller, as you can see. I might have a contact request form on a website that people want to say, hey, I'm interested in setting up a time to meet, or whatever the case is. Or on an existing list, I might be trying to get people to engage and set up a meeting with me. Either case, they funnel in, I email them and say, wonderful, let's set up a time to meet. Click here to do so. They'll click, they'll see my appointment availability. They'll make their own individual appointments. Once they schedule from Appointment Core itself, I can have it tag them. And so in this case, it's more of schedule the meeting. So once they get tagged that they scheduled the meeting, they're pulled out of here, of course, and then they get the confirmation email and reminders. And then similarly, I can, if desired, have a call outcome form and set up whatever actions or different filters based on the outcomes I want from the call. So with that being said, let's see in Appointment Core how we actually get it to be as simple as this, where there's a link click and a tag put in place. So with that being said, switching over to Appointment Core, I have currently my calendar, which the nice thing about this is I do not have to ever log into Appointment Core once I have this set up. Once it's in place, if I have it set to what calendar I want it to put my appointments on, and it's linked up to Infusionsoft, you don't have to be hopping to here and back to Infusionsoft and over to your other calendar to try and get the details needed. It's all set up wherever you want it, and you can tell it if you want it in Infusionsoft, if you want it in Google Calendar, if you want it to do other things. So anyway, a few things to note. Account settings and extensions is where you can set up, if you want it, obviously you're going to need to connect it to Infusionsoft. So you'll just put in your login credentials there. And if this page will load, I can show you here. But long story short, you can set it some basic information for you, what your time zone is, the time slot to display. This is for me in the weekly view. You can do what time does your day start. I've given the guided tour. I don't want it, so that's when I log in and things. And where should the events live? Is it on the Google calendars and Infusionsoft calendar? Which do you prefer? Those currently are the only ones. It's not set up to interface with Outlook, but I'm sure there's others out there that are. And you can set up your own calendar there. Which calendars affect availability? In this case, I have it be my Google Calendar, so if I've set an appointment there, it's not going to overlap my appointments together. You can set up your extensions. This is basically your login to Infusionsoft, so you can set that up. If you go to Manage Appointments, these are the appointments I currently have in place. And so this is actually, let's go through and actually create a new appointment setting. So if I'm creating this is basically creating the new parameters for when I provide someone a link to schedule. What are the parameters in place for them? In other words, what dates and times are available? What how long will the appointment be? What meeting information do they see? So you can set up multiple for this. So you can see right here, I can copy from previous established appointments if I want, but as you can see, let's go through and just say, what's the event or appointment name? And we'll have a 30-minute consultation. Whatever's applicable for you. Description, again, if you want to put one. So as an example, it's this is a quick meeting to confirm we're ready to begin your project. Whatever's applicable there. So location instructions, you can do your own custom ones, or you can enter a meeting address, request a phone number to call from the client, provide a phone number for the recipient to call, automatically set up a GoToMeeting invitation, automatically set up a free conference call line, or custom meeting information. So enter what's applicable for you there. We're going to continue to the next step. And now this is how long should the appointment be from start to finish. So in the example, I told it I want it to be 30 minutes. And you can see right here, add a buffer before or after. And you can set up whatever amount of time once one appointment is scheduled, especially for physical meetings. You'll need travel time, so you might have an hour between appointments or something of that nature, and you could set that up so automatically if Sally schedules something at 10 a.m. and it's a half hour, so you're done at 10:30, no one can schedule at that point until 11:30 if you set an hour buffer. So it automatically can understand that there's those breaks that should occur. And should this meeting be booked in a specific time in advance? And then yes, how many hours or days or whatever. So you can do that if desired. How far in advance can someone book? Make me look busy. And this is a new feature, so it sounds like it's if you want to limit the number of available slots they can see per day, even if you actually have a totally free day, you can do that. So I guess it makes you look busy, of course. Allow them to reschedule or cancel, which is huge. Obviously, in a standard meeting structure in Infusionsoft, if you didn't use any outside service, you wouldn't be able to do this. You would, but it would be all manual, of course. Whereas this will allow them to actually cancel or reschedule. But the thing to note here is that it says a cancel/reschedule link will be placed in the initial confirmation email to the customer. So if you turn this on, you have to use at least the confirmation email that Appointment Core will send. If you want to use only a welcome/confirmation email from Infusionsoft, you might have to basically make it redundant, or maybe just more of your own welcome information without making it look like a confirmation email. So that's just something to be aware of, that they'll get two rather than one email if you want them to reschedule. So if you wanted to send something from Infusionsoft, that is. And how many attendees can be involved per appointment slot, and you can adjust this if desired. So right here is the current weekly planner. And so you can adjust this as desired, but you'll notice, for example, I've got Monday through Friday, and this is currently based on my time zone. So you can adjust this if you want to go, 8 to 5 or whatever the case is. But you'll notice right here, it's actually summarizing for you to say, on Monday, I'm 8 to 5. Tuesday through Friday currently is 9 to 6. If you wanted to have a break for lunch, for example, and so I'll do 9 to 12, and then, whatever it might be, 1 to 6, for example. So you could do whatever you want to do to create these little buffers, and you can create as many as you want. You just simply, just like a Google Calendar, click and drag to create a new available slot, or you can delete it, or you can just click on this little arrow and adjust accordingly. So, and just click and drag up and down or around. So anyway, that's just something to be aware of for you. So you can add or exclude availability, limit or exclude availability, add it. So do whatever you want to do there. Continue the next step, presumably, if I have that all ready. Now, you can put something in place if you want this to be like on your site, for example, ability to schedule an appointment. However, if so, you would need to do as a new contact, and they require a form. If you're doing an existing contact from list, that's assuming that you have those individuals existing as a contact in the Infusionsoft CRM right now. And so mark whatever's applicable for you. And so if it's either a new contact, you want to embed it on your site, or invite people to sign up through that fashion, or do it through an existing list. And especially, for example, if it's setting an appointment, you might be a dental office and needing for people to schedule, and you can make it based, if you have a Google Calendar, it's based off of a Google Calendar's availability, as mentioned. You could have a shared Google Calendar amongst the other colleagues in your office. So all of your appointments might, and again, this could be, each one of you could have your own appointment scheduling link, or you could have a general office one. Whatever's applicable, you can set it so you could have different appointment, you could have an appointment calendar, and then only the times free are what they can choose from. or if it's only for your specific availability, then they could choose from that one. Or you could have a receptionist obviously be using this to schedule the appointments once people call. Whatever is applicable, you can do so. So charge for this appointment, you could decide if you want to do that. Automatic timer to create another event in this case, but we don't need it. Turn off the automatic email confirmation for this appointment request. Again, if you turn this off and you had enabled the reschedule link, at this point they would not have a reschedule link to reschedule, of course, their existing appointment. They can still, basically reschedule, but at that point they would be emailing you, or in your email you might say, if you wish to reschedule, and this could be an email from Infusionsoft again saying, if you wish to reschedule, just click here. And that click here will notify whoever internally, and then they could follow up to confirm whatever appointment time should be rescheduled for, and then adjust accordingly. They could actually come into Appointment Core itself and adjust the existing appointment and things manually if they desire. And so where it says apply these tags to a contact when they create an appointment. Again, this is obviously connecting to Infusionsoft, so the tags are going to be the tag categories initially that you have in your system, or you can create a new tag. So once you select a tag category, then it'll select the tags for you specifically there. So, and you could click and choose multiple tags if you want, or whatever you need. So this additional / advanced Infusionsoft options is what we can use to have data filled in to see, apply these tags to the contact when they cancel an appointment, apply these tags to the contact when they reschedule an appointment. And so obviously if they're doing any of those, we'll need the email to go from Appointment Core to them to give them that option. But if they cancel or reschedule, the tags can obviously not only be populated to trigger different emails or notifications or actions in Infusionsoft, but they can also be used simply from a reporting standpoint. They don't even have to do anything. You might see just in a general dashboard widget how many people overall have actually scheduled appointments and kept them, how many people have canceled, how many people have rescheduled and kept them, or so on and so forth. So something to consider there. And you can see this last option says insert appointment information into Infusionsoft custom fields. And if I say yes, you have to say, you read through this, it's saying there's a couple limitations that you need to do with appointments, and you have to be aware of certain things. So if you say, yep, I agree, then I'm presented with the option to say, okay, what field should the appointment date be populated into? And I could say maybe I just want the date and uncheck time, or vice versa. Or in this case, it's separating for me the date and time again, because we have, if we want our emails to be reminders surrounding the appointment date, we have to have a separate date field and a separate time field. So that's exactly why we do that. And you can select the applicable custom date field, the applicable custom time field, and then you'll be ready to go. And obviously, if you don't have one, you can create a new custom field actually here in Appointment Core without having to bounce back and forth. So, and you have a few other options, and this is just to insert appointment details and instructions into an Infusionsoft custom field. So rather than inserting it separately, if you're not actually going to base any email surrounding the appointment, you just simply want the details to be passed to one larger field that you'll just merge into one email, you can do so with this without having to actually do a separate date and a separate time field to make them surrounding obviously the date and time. It can just be the appointment information merged in for them. So that's a little bit, I know we kind of went over a lot there, but presumably if you have everything in place and ready to go, then you click to continue to the next step. And now you have 4 different ways to actually integrate the form. You can copy the link, which in this case, again, as a reminder, I chose to do this as if the contacts already existed in my CRM database. And you'll notice at the very end of my URL string, if you can see this, it says ~contact.id . And so this is actually a merge field format from Infusionsoft that will merge in the client's actual contact ID, and then that is what Appointment Core uses to uniquely represent it from them. And Appointment Core does something that's pretty cool. So if your time zone is Eastern, for example, and you've got a phone call with someone that's on Central Time, when they click to view your calendar, set up that phone call, the Appointment Core calendar automatically adjusts your availability to their time zone. So when they're choosing their appointment, it's obviously surrounding the available time still that you have, but in their time zone. So you're everyone's still able to be on the same page, and you don't have to worry about misunderstanding how things work there. So you don't have to actually in an email present it to them in this fashion where it's just kind of this ugly link. We can actually put it behind a button or an image or a text that might say click here, and we can merge in the actual link and then have their contact ID merged in as well. So long story short, we would have a specific Appointment Core URL custom field, which would be only this value up until the equal sign here. And then we already have the option to merge in the contact's ID from just the standard email merge field options. So you would merge in behind the link, you click and have the link, and you would insert the two merge fields. One is the Appointment Core URL custom field, and then the other is the contact ID custom field. So it would look like tilde, Infusionsoft Appointment Core URL tilde, and then tilde again contact.id tilde. So it would be something in that fashion that would be filled in and hyperlinked, of course, when it's sent to them. This right here is you can embed a widget onto your site. You can invite them via email here from Appointment Core, or you can get a link to use link in an Infusionsoft campaign or email. So this link is exactly what you see up here. It's just up to you where you do it. So if you actually have it be embedding a form, then embedding the widget might be the way to do it. And it gives kind of some cool design options already available for you. What you can see up top is it says choose which option to show. So this is based for the actual client, what they will see, and you can preview it and you can customize it even. So it's checking availability, checking this and that, and it's presented to me and it shows me a couple little options, and I can select and choose whatever is applicable. So right now it says the time slots are based on your current time of, and it will display for them whatever the time is and the time zone and so on and so forth. And if they don't feel that's accurate, they can adjust it. So with that being said, you can customize it. You can put your own company logo up there. You can do, things of that nature. You can change it from being a week view to the day view or list view or compact list. You can play with that and see what they do, customize them here. And that's how you go through and set up the appointment. And obviously, just based on what settings you put in place, it would tie in then at that point, for example, to the campaign where I would have told it to apply the scheduled a meeting tag. And then, if I wanted the custom fields to be filled in, I would have them filled in, and then they merge them into an email I have in place in this sequence. And that's how you can kind of tie in these outside services by using like an Appointment Core type setup. That is pretty much it when it comes to using an outside service or using just Infusionsoft for the Appointment Core, or I'm sorry, the appointment creation. So that's just some of the two examples there. Now let's hop over to a couple questions that were submitted. One is, can I manage if, hold on, let's see what they're saying here. Oh, okay, gotcha. So what they're saying is, if someone wants to reschedule, how can I manage it? And so in Appointment Core, if you're using a service like that, we obviously saw you have to enable that little checkbox, and then so Appointment Core will have to be the one to send the confirmation email. but it would provide you the option to identify if they've rescheduled. In the standard setup where you don't use an outside service, what we could do is, let's just say they're in the confirmation process. What we do is maybe scoot this over a bit and then have a link clicked goal. And so we'll say requested to, either cancel or reschedule. And that would tie to a link that we have in the email. So if they've actually clicked to reschedule or cancel, then we'd have some sort of action set up for that would either notify someone internally or have someone call them to reschedule another time. Or you might have two different buttons, one for cancel, one to reschedule, and have different actions based on what option that was chosen. But you would use the link click goal and actually just set up the links in the email. And in the email, the links themselves, you might be wondering, well, where am I going to link them to? What would I actually do there? So one option for you is when you link, for example, you say, click here to, reschedule. So when I do click here and I link it, the little window opens up and I can say thank you page and then edit the thank you page, which opens up another window. And so you can insert whatever you want here. It might just be simply thank you for, letting us know that you wish to reschedule. We'll be in touch shortly. You can totally change this so it doesn't look like this. Whatever you want to do, just edit it. So anyway, that's how you would do it. You can just link them to a thank you page and then reference that link, click in here in your link click goal, and then set up whatever actions you find applicable. The next question was, what happens if they don't show for the appointment? And so if they don't show for the appointment, it could be left a message, but maybe it's you want a specific set of actions for they don't show. And this could be true of the appointment core, or it could be true of just the manual approach, where if they don't show, then you could have another identifier of what was the call outcome, no show. And it could be, no show attempt 1, no show, attempt 2, if that's at all applicable. And you could have basically different messages going out to them or different things that you might want to do, just simply depending on if it's their first no-show or if they've had others, or you could set up any emails or actions. But it would just be another sequence you would add here, and then just connect the line over to the other sequence and then set up your option on the form to get them there, and then whatever actions you want in the sequence. So the other question, the last question submitted was, can the appointment be put on multiple people's calendars? So long story short, yes, but depending on the way you approach this, you might find it beneficial, you might not. So what I mean by that is if you did it through, let's say, Appointment Core, Appointment Core allows you to tie it to one specific calendar. In this case, like a Google Calendar or an Infusionsoft calendar. If it's an Infusionsoft calendar, it's only tied to that user. So if everyone wants to just hop on and see that that's the main appointment calendar, then certainly that could work. But if not, you would want to have a shared calendar on Google and have it tied to that, and then whoever's applicable, they can hop in and see that there's a specific appointment scheduled. Now, yeah, that would be it, really. That's your only options. Now, let's just say it's a manual approach where you don't have an Appointment Core service. If I've created an appointment in Infusionsoft, an actual appointment, I can only tie that appointment to one specific user of Infusionsoft and therefore have it applied to only one specific user's calendar. I can notify other people, like email them, but as far as the appointment and who it's assigned to, you only get one. So anyway, unless you want to have everyone know that this specific user is going to be the main one to piggyback off of for appointments, or to view their calendar or this or that, you can do so. But otherwise, you would need to look at an outside service like Appointment Core to facilitate some things like that. So overall, that is it when it comes to creating the appointments and using outside services to help manage some of that. So overall, feel free to fill out the form if you have any questions there for us. But otherwise, look forward to next week, and thanks for tuning in.